to return thanks for us, and we'll leave.
Father, we thank you so much for this day, the blessings that you've given us. Father, we thank you for this organization, for the men who serve on it now and their families, and the men who served on it in the past, and for their commitment also. Father, we just ask that you bless us in everything that we do here. And Father, bless this food for the nourishment of our bodies, and may we serve you in a better way. We ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Okay, how you want it? Have every guest, special guest, go around the front of the line, please, get started, and we're going to start right now.
We got 2 stacks of them at the office.
Still some dessert left, and still some meat left, so if you're still hungry, there's plenty to eat. I'm sure some of these old firemen are still hungry, so. We have this week tonight in observance of National Fire Prevention Week. Here's over here, his cow kicked over a lantern in a barn and set the Chicago on fire. They haven't had a National Fire Prevention Week ever since, so that's what we're observing. And again, we want to welcome the ex-firemen, our old firemen, and I'm going to turn the program over to Edwin. Is that right? Edwin?
The assistant's not here.
He's not here.
Well, I guess we will.
I guess you will too. Again, we want to welcome y'all, and I'll turn the program over to Edwin.
You've heard of being slow. Well, this meeting tonight is about 4 years in coming. We finally had to come and be with us and just kind of share some of the experiences we had before, as well as see some of the contrasts in the equipment and the response that the firemen do have in attacking that problem of uncontrolled fire. Fire and water and many other things are good if they don't get out of control, if they're used properly. So this week is a celebration nationwide, as the chief said, for fire prevention. It's to make people aware of this danger that can happen. In conjunction with this, we are not doing it this week, but we will shortly in the schools. We have a fire drill, and it is so realistic sometimes, many of the students even think it to be an actual fire. We usually not only go up there with the sirens and all in the town, as well as the trucks going, and approach the thing, and they have their drill like they have been briefed to do throughout the school. Some of the things are back there on that desk, as you'll note, for the children. Funny books, hats, handouts. Excuse me, I'm going to turn this down just a little. And if any of you have children and want to take any of that with you, you're welcome to do so tonight. We appreciate Charles Beasley and the Beasley Agency for furnishing the fire hats, and they are for the children that would like to have them. We appreciate this effort in that respect. We're certainly thankful for our guests being here tonight, Gene Redwine and James Bailey from up Bruce Way, PG7. We appreciate their coming and to cover our event. This is the first of this type that we know of in the county, first in Calhoun City we know, and I think probably in this whole area to have a firemen's alumnus get together. And we do thank them. We thank Flora May and Woodrow for their efforts through the past years in supporting the fire department in many ways. A lot of the firemen know ways. In fact, our cooker out there is through their efforts, and they have been working with the fire department and support for many years. Jane and Rupert Gosford are here as a guest too. He's our representative on the Board of Aldermen for the fire department. Some of the firemen who are not here with us tonight, that were former firemen, are Dan Aston, James Bain, James Boland, Frank Buda, Rex Boland, Larry Bratton, Bill Clark, Forbes England, Dan Gass, T.C. Harrelson, Joe Hicks, Jerry Fox, S.O. Lee Jr., Brian Martin, M.W. Putman, Marshall Parnell, David Fryer, J.T. Ray, Herschel Ritter, Otis Shadows, Ord Van Landingham, and several others that I don't have down. If you think of one after the program, want to tell me, we'll add their names to the list and be sure we get them all down. Some that I didn't list were on the department 3 months or less, and we considered that in making the list up. The active firemen that are absent tonight, and I may not have them all down because some did not show, but might not be here, are Judd Dudley, Dale Hayes, Tom Lee Dye, Wood Spencer, Bobby Phillips. Oh, Bobby's here. Yeah. I had it down as being possible either way because it might be James. Excuse me, Bob. I just was reading off the list. And Jimmy Cole. I don't know what happened to Jimmy. He's supposed to be here. To move right on, I don't want to keep any length of time, but do any of you remember the old fire station, the old tin building? Is there a contrast? But we certainly could not have this occasion had it not been through the efforts of our city and our board and all cooperating in that. And we are certainly happy that our mayor is such an active part in our fire department and these efforts. And he and our Board of Aldermen have been a tremendous support. And we thank you. I don't know where he is. Okay. The last thing I have to say, and this is one of the things that we don't realize until we start taking records and using them. I don't know how many you would think would be deceased, have passed away, that have been on the fire department. We're thankful no fireman on our fire department has lost their life by the actual fighting of fires. We've been fortunate because we've had some explosions and some terrific fires and falling in roofs and things, walls falling, that could have been that way. You'll notice back there on the wall it tells about a Jackson fireman being buried in the fire. And other areas have had firemen. Opelana was lost one, I believe, last spring. Let's take a moment and just think about these and their families that have been on the fire department and now have gone on to be with the Maker. John Baker, Ed Creekmore Jr., Chester Dye, Forbes England, Leslie, or Les Griffin, J.T. Griffin, his brother, Billy Harden, who was our most recent this year, passed away, Kenneth McElroy, Bilbo Mullins. Bilbo died while he's on the fire department, but from an accident at Bruce with the National Guard, R.F. O'Neill, and Shorty Rutherford. There may be others, but we know these have died. And we'll just bow our heads and remember their families for a moment of silent prayer. Thank you, Lord, for this moment together, for friendship, for your goodness to us in so many ways, for your blessings. We do ask your blessings with the families, those who have lost their loved ones, and we do pray your guidance with them at this time. Help us to be aware of the needs of others, to do what we should do as firemen, to prevent loss of life and loss of property. Thank you now, Lord, for this time. In Christ's name, amen. right. Tonight we got something up here, and the way it was signed, that we don't want to hear from you, seasoned fireman. Some of the things that you remember on the fire department, whether it be amusing or whether whatever. We'll let Henry Lackey be our MC for this, and we just welcome him tonight because he was on the fire department for several years back in the early 60s, early 50s, I mean late 50s. Get it right. And he may want to ask you a few things, and I'll just call on a different one. Henry Lackey.
Come on. Was that you said, Reeves? I thought, well, I have been instructed, or what I've been told, is for we older firemen. Now, are we seasoned firemen, or are we, whatever you want to call it, we're supposed to relate some of the funny, happy things that happened to us while we were on the fire department and kind of relive some of these old times. I know when we got our first fire truck, and that was the only siren I ever heard, except that one on Mole Ellard's 41 Ford, you know. That was the first siren. You could hear that thing going off, and everybody in town would follow it. And find out what in the world was going on. You know, we had more trouble with the traffic than we did with the fire. One thing about it, we never lost a lot, though, I want to tell you that. But so that was, you know, everybody wanted to know what was going on, and so they followed the fire truck. Well, I went off to college, first time I was out of Catalina County, went down to Jackson, went to college, and I almost flunked out the first semester. There's more sirens going on down there than I ever saw. I couldn't keep up with them all. But I remember one time we went off down here, Mr. Bird's cook had a few little houses down here that he rented out, and one of those little necessary houses caught on fire. It wasn't true. And we came back, and Flora May came all the way up there to find out, said, what in the world caught on fire? And I said, well, we saved page 650 to 900 of the Sears and Roebuck catalog. I didn't have to explain it to her. She knew exactly what I talked about. Edwin was talking about National Fire Prevention Week and about how it got started. The first time I ever heard firemen discussed or talked about was in church. And I think it was the first time in recorded history a fireman was named. They was talking about them three wise men that come from afar. I believe that's the first time. We was coming through this line over here a while ago. Yeah, we was coming through this line over here a while ago, and Skinny Honeycutt was putting out the meat, and he asked Lennon White, said, round steak? And he said, I don't care about the shape as long as it's tender. But now, I want some of you firemen to begin to remember some of your old times here. I remember I'd been on the fire department 2 or 3 years. One of the main things was safety, and we was learning to first aid and mouth-to-mouth resuscitation and many different things, all about burns and broken bones and everything. And I never shall forget, it was in February, and it was cold as it could be. And there was some young fella, he'd come all the way from Greenwood on a motorcycle. He had on a black leather jacket, and he had it turned around backwards and had it zipped up the back. And he was coming up the highway there, and me as ACOP have to pull out in front of him, and he ran through Curtis Ball's building there. Durell Lunsford happened to be in there. Well, the fire alarm went off, and we went all running down there, and Durell had first aid and everything, and he said, boys, I did the best I could, but the time I got his head turned around straight in his head. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. Y'all don't know the real reason. Y'all may have to cut that thing off. reason that Luther Davis, he is one of our first fire chiefs, and then I think was one of the members of the first fire department, weren't you, Luther? For us to practice on and to give mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. This is one of the, you just don't know why some people quit a good department. But this is the real reason that Luther got off the department. But now, he was the best mouth-to-mouth resuscitator we had. I don't know. He had a lot of practice. He was, now really now, and you know, when a person, he said, now when a person gets overcome with smoke, we didn't have all that kind of equipment y'all had today. We didn't have those little tanks of oxygen. We had to depend upon the oxygen that we could put out. And so he was the designated mouth-to-mouth resuscitator. Well, we got a call one night, and we went. Back there. Al Jr. went to Dr. Strickland. They sitting by one another over there, and Ray's was fixing to get in the dental chair, and he started counting his money. And Doc said, "You don't have to pay me in advance." And he said, "I wasn't fixing to. I'd count my money before you gave me the gas." This is some of my experiences that I have had on the department. By the way, before we get into this much further, everybody that has been has had 5 years or more active duty, would you stand on the fire department? 5 years or more. All right. Everybody that's had less than 10, just sit down. Less than 15. Less than 20. Less than 25. Less than 100. Anybody have any experience they want to tell about?
I want somebody to tell one about you. The watermelon run.
Well, no, there were always practical jokers in there, and I know y'all don't do that now. I know you don't do it at all. I remember Tommy Hamilton one time, and then we had his first aid training, and they said if you get dizzy, just put your head between your legs and start breathing hard, and if a man is dizzy, you see somebody that's dizzy like that, just put your head between your legs and start down and start breathing and get him back. Man fainted. Tommy put his head between his legs and started breathing. First day was my best. Rex, I know you have an experience that you want to tell us about. Oh? Wilbur Blunt's not here tonight. You can talk about it.
Let's see, one that happened to me when I was fire chief. When I was fire chief, one night about 8 o'clock, my television caught fire. So I called the fire department. The alarm went off. They got lost getting to my house. By the time we got there, I set the TV out. In the meantime, we had this little call system. Everybody had a card with 2 numbers on it. And their wives called the fire. So they called Norman Cole's house. Ruth answered.
actually experienced something like that, really. I remember when, you know, the old firehouse and the jail was adjacent to one another. Fire alarm went off, we went in there and got in the truck, and we was almost in Big Creek, and they said it's the jail. We didn't have communications like y'all did now. I enjoyed it. This meat was delicious. I understand that it could have come from, well, I don't know, from a source up north of town. Then y'all get accused of stealing somebody's cash when you're putting fire out up there. Or was that south of town? Well, y'all saved the change. I understand y'all saved the change. Okay, well.
Chief, I won't tell one on myself. I'm not gonna say that. No, one night, I forgot the name of the police program was on television. And that was back when they had the numbers, you know, if the alarm went off, the wife would run and call another wife and alert everybody so they get there. So I had the television on and the siren went off and I thought it was a fire alarm and I ran to the telephone, called Louis McElroy to tell Charles quick to the fire. Alfred left. Charles and Alfred got, the kids and Alfred got there and they never could find the fire. And our next door neighbor said, well, it wasn't a thing where would a television program raised it to.
Some of you other wives. You ever get the wrong number in the middle of the night, you know? Oh, come on.
I'm not a wife, but I'll tell the story. We were going to the fire department before we had books, so I don't know how long ago this was. But Grady Easley was on the fire department. And in those days, we trained at about daylight of the morning. So we'd go up and down the street, blowing the siren and so on. George Lacey advises me that Mr. Phillips' gin had caught fire the night before. I didn't remember why I was there. And the mold, if that's what you call it, was smaller than the next morning. We were around by 6 o'clock. The older people might remember that there was a barn. Go here to this traffic light and go south. Phillips Gin, J. Star Howell's barn, J. Star Howell's pasture, and then J. Star Howell's house. Again, this is about daylight morning. So we got tired fighting the fire, I suppose, and we were playing with the machine. Grady Easley, the big gruff boy, said, turn the so-and-so water on. J. Star was sitting there milking the old cow on a stool, and I remembered as if it were yesterday. Milking with both hands and his head over here, half asleep, I guess. Grady Easley turned the hose on. Like you've seen our old school books of the cow jumping on the zoo. J. Star's milk went one way, his stew went the other, J. Star went another, and the old cow jumped on down.
We're doing some reminiscing now. Some of you present firemen and not previous may have something you want to say.
Henry, I have one thing. I feel like Wilbur Blunt would have said if he'd been here.
Wilbur said one thing.
I know he would have mentioned this. We had a pretty serious fire over at Vernon. I mean, it was 3 that was over that night. And we got it extinguished and we got back to the fire station. And somebody knows who Henry Lackey was. And fire. So I guess it's about 2 o'clock at night. You may remember.
Vividly.
Sure. Wilbur Blunt calls Henry and tells him we had a fire needed down at the fire station. And we heard his car hit the pavement, tires squeezed, and he got up at the fire station. I forget whether he was a good cousin or not. We got you to the fire.
Break.
One little hole out the front, the windshield and everything, took it in after what you call it.
Just exactly what you were.
We
were all in the firehouse with the doors closed. He shook his fist at us too.
Never did stop till he gets kept.
How many former fire chiefs do we have? Stand up. How many former assistant chiefs? All the rest of us was Indians, I think. I got to be assistant hose man